All right, so this is a really important game because the tournament that I'm playing in, this match acts as a decider, and um, I am against India's best player, which is which is not that exciting a prospect, but should be a fun game. If I do win this game, which would be a major upset, my team stays in the competition. Otherwise, my opponent's team advances to the semifinals. I have a clunky rack to begin with. I can play something like Urea, or actually just play EAU because I want to keep the extra consonant. My opponent plays J. Seems like a standard move. I want to get rid of three of these consonants. EAU seems like the ideal play, or something like AUE. I wanna I wanna utilize the JA spot, but I don't see a way to do that. Excuse me. If I do play AUE, it's gonna be really easy to score down here, which I'm not a big fan of. I think I'm actually gonna go with EAU up here instead, because this is not as easy to score with, because the only dangerous thing that goes here is an X. So I think I'm gonna play this, and even if my opponent does have the X, he can't play. He needs to have an I or a U to score with it. So I think I am gonna play EAU. My rack gets slightly better, but not a lot. I have something like peak, over peak, perhaps. I doubt that would be good though. My opponent comes straight back with Tauzier. I saw that coming because he played J. Didn't quite think it would be um, that easy for him, but I want to hit the triple so that I can get at least a 50-point play in return. Not sure what fits there. So Parv goes on top of Tauzier, which should score a decent amount, or Paver. I think that would be a good play because it gets rid of the P and the V, and I'm not necessarily opposed to keeping the K on my rack. I think I'm gonna just play Paver. Should I play Parv instead? Yeah, I think Parv is the better move because it gives my opponent a V and an E instead of an R and an E to bingo through, um, which should be better. Yeah, so I'm going with Parv for 39, and I draw a really lousy rack. think I'm gonna have to exchange next turn. There's no, I don't see a way out of this rack where I can score decently. I do have a vowel dump in KAIE on my rack, which does play for a decent enough score, but OOI is a horrible rack leave, and that spot gets taken away as well. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to change. I'm gonna keep the E on my rack and get rid of the rest of the tiles. Almost wildfire. I do have wife keeping LED if it goes anywhere, which is not a bad move and not a bad leave either. I'm looking at the IF spot down here as expected. Um, my opponent comes back with a bingo because he fished last turn. GAE. Um, I'm in a pretty grim situation. So something that can save me here is playing wifed. Keeping Ellie, again, not a bad rack leave. It keeps this board a little bit open, gives us a few lanes down here and this S and the A to play through, because the left side of the board is starting to get pretty clogged up. So I think I don't see any other better plays that score enough, so I'm gonna go with this. Surprisingly enough, almost wildfire again. I do have something like wifey. But that keeps the double L. I'm not super opposed to keeping a double L on my rack because the two L's go well together. But yeah, tricky racks. And my opponent comes back with demanded. He's just running away with this game at this point. I think I'm gonna have to take the score and just hope that by some miracle I can come back. But the chances of that are pretty slim. Yeah. Uh, actually do have wildlife on my rack this time, but through a D of course, but that doesn't play. I don't see anything better than wifey. I think at this point I'm just too far behind to balance my rack effectively. I just think I have to go for score. Not a horrible pickup, but at this point, any pickup that doesn't get me a bingo is kind of useless. And my opponent does make a joke about my few plays. Something that keeps me in the game here. I now do see a 7 on my rack. Alienly, doesn't seem like it's gonna play. I do have the Y for the Joey hook, so something like Liney can get me a good amount of points. Sherwin, my opponent, has been a big mentor for me since when I started playing the game. He has been super supportive, not just to me, but to all the other youth players, and he likes to see this game grow in the country. I have my utmost respect for him, but he is thrashing me this game, which honestly I expected, but I thought I would put up more of a fight than this. I do believe Liney is the play to go for here. Scores 40 points and keeps ALE on um, on my rack, which is not too bad. Now what I expect from Sherwin is that he's gonna block this entire board and not give me any chance to bingo. I see him playing here next move. Well, we're gonna have to wait and see. As is the golden rule of Scrabble, I get rid of the I and I draw the Q. And I no longer have a Q um, spot to play in. I do have, well, I lied. I do have the QI or the QI here. And if I do draw an O after that, I do have Ariole in this spot. Um, but seems like a fairly long shot. I am a little bit worried about this spot being open. The way this game has gone so far, it seems like my opponent is going to draw the X and play something for 50 down here. But at this point, I'm behind enough where I can't quite afford to worry about this spot too much, because I have I have to bingo in order to stay in this game. And as expected, Sherwin plays in row N and blocks all the spots that I had to bingo. He still gives me one lane ending in E or something like that, but I completely expect him to block that next move. I think I'm gonna have to play the Q off. Um, in fact, I'm gonna prefer to play it here because, because this still has the possibility to develop into some kind of opening for me. So I'm gonna see how it goes. Fortunately, I do draw an O, so I do have a bingo on my rack, but I would be really surprised if Sherwin gives me this lane to bingo in this turn. So I'm not gonna get my hopes up, and he does. I'm happy about the fact that I get at least one bingo down in this game, and maybe there's some fight left, because actually never mind, I lied. Both of the blanks are out, so I'm not sure how I can come back at all. I almost had thumb with a T, but I don't quite have that. That would have been a nice slick play and would have given me around 50 points. In playing Ox, my opponent does take away all the possibilities that this side of the board had to develop. So I'm still quite surprised that the Q play worked out for me. That was simply a stroke of luck. Yeah, and as time dwindles down, I am either gonna have to create something for myself, which I don't see a super straightforward way of doing. Excuse me. I do have something like Hearn coming down here, but again, like it gives my opponent back this spot because AH takes an eye. So that spot is super easy to hit. I don't mind keeping the M back. I quite like M as a tile, but now an interesting play would be Henne. I don't know if that's good, but Henna as a plant is good. BRM, not the worst leave. Could be much worse actually. Um, I'm not sure if Henne is good. I'll take a second to think about it, but yeah, if I do decide to go with Henne, okay, and my opponent plays Elo to block this spot completely. Um, my Hearn play still remains available, but at this point, I think I'm gonna have to open with something. I don't quite think Henne is good. Henna is a plant, and it probably won't take an S. Um, I do have the B for bow. I can play something like Herb in order to open this side of the board. I actually also just play Herb down here. That's 37 points. Keeps me within a bingo distance. But I lose the B to develop this side of the board. So I'm not a huge fan of that. There are two S's still to come. I can go with something like HM. Scores 33 points, takes an S up here. I feel like that leaves behind a really bad rack leave. Um, not sure. It's a tricky rack. This has been a fairly quick game. Actually, what if I play instead and keep this B because I want to keep. There's still a B to come, but I want to keep this B to use to play um, for bow because I want to develop this rack. But I feel like I can't give the score up because my opponent's gonna come back with a 40-point play, and excuse me, and that then it would just be impossible for me to catch up. I think I'm gonna go with because that seems like a fairly solid play. I draw the second B as well, which is it's not bad. But two B's and two N's is a little bit tricky to deal with. That's a good word. I'm not sure if that's. I'm gonna challenge it. I fully expect to be wrong. Um, that's a really nice word. I'm assuming overtow is a word as well. Um, I need I need vowels to bingo now. I don't see a play that gets rid of both the B and the N and then also scores at the same time. I am not expecting to draw anything. It's super unlikely at this point that I do draw bingo. I think I'm gonna go with Bob simply because I do have this lane to work with now. Um, hmm. Um, if I draw the I and the G, my chances of bingoing do go up. But I think at this point I just have to take this score in order to be remotely competitive. So I'm gonna go with that. And I don't draw any of that. I draw the Z for scoring, which is nice. But yeah, but I don't even see a way to score effectively with the Z. I mean, of course, like you can just go down here for 42 points. Um, that won't be bad. Zins for 34 is available too, but that gives the ZO back. But yeah, for all intents and purposes, this game is pretty much over. I I'm not too disappointed with my performance because given that it's only been what 10 moves, and I'm at a 321 points. That's a 32-point average. Um, but my opponent played extremely well. Salivate, Tauzier, Demanded, and even Undertow, some words that I didn't even know. Um, it's hard to spot those bingos sometimes, but he did pretty effectively, and I guess that's why he's the best player in India. So yeah, I don't think there's a way for me to come back in this game now. Um, what I can do is try to minimize the spread, which is what you should do at the end of every Scrabble game. You should try to minimize the margin that you lose by, but I think it doesn't quite matter because if we do lose this game, we are gonna lose the decider. So yeah, it was a fun ride. This tournament was really fun, and I might be covering some of the final games actually. So we got knocked out in the eliminator, and I really want to cover some of the final games. So please let me know down below if you would be interested in seeing that. Um, anyway, I am gonna keep looking for moves here. Zin plays here as well. Isn't too exciting because it gets rid of the only vowel, and there's a high chance that my opponent has both on his rack at this point. Um, yeah, the only way for me to um, even come remotely close to winning would be if my opponent doesn't get any vowels for the rest of the game. I get this set spot for 42, and yeah, and then he's forced to play like 2 tiles or 3 tiles at a time. Peck for 24, and that's a really nice spot. I'm gonna go with the Z because I want to keep the clock ticking on him. Um, um, but yeah, so there's no way that my opponent doesn't have an O now. So yeah, I think he's gonna go up um, pretty easily. I have something like VIS down here for 25. Um, Vince plays here too. Um, but yeah, I completely saw Thong coming because I thought he would have it. I'm gonna play Vince down here, the highest score that I can get. I do expect him to go out, um, but if not, he's definitely gonna go out next turn. He has something like Thumb and two to score with. Um, yeah, I'm just gonna play Vince because there's no way I'm coming back in this game now. Um, so something like Toge would have played for my opponent, Togae, but unfortunately that's not available. He plays Thumb um, for score. If I do want to calculate, then PNS, I can play pawns. Excuse me, right there. That's 6 points, and I get 4 on the spread. Um, I can also play something like POS right there for 22 points, and I give away 2 points on the spread. So, I mean, I think I would play POS just because it gives me a better score and like a better valuation for my tiles. Um, yeah, I think POS is the way to go here. And I think my opponent's gonna go out. Yeah, he has the Geo spot right here, that, and a GAE spot right down there. So yeah, well played to my opponent. This was a really fun game, a nice open board. Um, he he played 3 back-to-back bingos, I believe. He plays Jer, and he can go out. I'm just gonna pass. All right. So, um, yeah, with that, I think my team is eliminated from this tournament, and this was a really fun game. And I will see you next time.